Gravity gets ignored. Rivers flow where they shouldn't. Rocks move without anyone touching them. Floating islands, fire underwater. Welcome to 15 places on Earth that make no sense. Real locations, real science, and yet every single one looks like a glitch in reality. Stick around, because some of these will make you question everything you thought you knew about this planet. Let's begin. Number 15. The Underwater River. At the bottom of a Mexican cenote, divers encounter a sight that seems completely impossible. A river appears to be flowing beneath the water. It has what look like muddy banks. Dead trees stretch across it. Leaves and branches lie scattered along its edges. And above this strange scene, another layer of crystal clear water surrounds everything. The location is Cenote Angelita, a deep underwater cave in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. At around 100 feet below the surface, the scenery suddenly changes. The clear water gives way to a dark, cloudy layer that looks almost exactly like a separate river. But there is a catch. The river isn't a river. It is a chemical layer formed where fresh water meets salt water. As organic material breaks down deep inside the cenote, it produces hydrogen sulfide. This creates a thick, cloudy boundary between the two water layers. Light passing through it makes the boundary look like flowing water. Then came the trees. Branches, leaves, and pieces of vegetation fall through openings above and sink into the cenote. Many become trapped around this chemical layer, creating the eerie appearance of a forest growing along an underwater riverbank. For a diver moving through the cave, the experience can be surreal. One moment the water is clear, then the surroundings disappear into a strange smoky haze. And below that haze, another layer of clear salt water appears. The ancient Maya regarded cenotes as sacred places, and some were connected with the underworld. With a scene like this hidden deep beneath the surface, it's easy to understand how such beliefs could take hold. There is no impossible river here, no underground current carving its way through the cave. Just water chemistry and debris combining to create one of Earth's strangest illusions. A river that never existed yet looks almost impossible to deny. Number 14. The Racetrack Playa. In the middle of California's Death Valley, there is a place where rocks seem to move on their own. No people, no vehicles, no obvious force, just hundreds of heavy stones scattered across a perfectly flat, cracked lake bed. This is Racetrack Playa. Some of these rocks weigh hundreds of pounds. Yet behind them are long trails carved across the ground, sometimes stretching for hundreds of feet. And the strangest part is that the trails don't all look the same. Some travel in straight lines, others curve gently. A few suddenly change direction, leaving paths that look almost impossible to explain. For decades, people came up with all kinds of theories. Could strong winds be moving them? Was magnetism involved? Or was something else happening when nobody was watching? There was only one problem. Nobody had actually seen the rocks move. Then in the winter of 2013, researchers finally got their chance. After rare rainfall, a thin layer of water covered the playa. Overnight, freezing temperatures turned parts of it into sheets of ice. When the sun came up, the ice began breaking apart. A light breeze pushed the floating ice across the shallow water. When the ice pressed against the rocks, it slowly pushed them across the muddy surface. Some rocks moved only a few meters per minute. That sounds fast until you realize how easy it would be to miss. A rock could begin moving across the playa and stop before anyone noticed. Then the water evaporated, the ice disappeared, and the desert returned to silence. All that remained were the mysterious trails, quiet evidence that these massive rocks had somehow crossed the desert floor by themselves. Number 13. Magnetic Hills. There is a road in Canada where your car can appear to roll uphill with the engine turned off. No accelerator, no pushing, just the car slowly moving in the direction that gravity supposedly shouldn't allow. This is Magnetic Hill in Moncton, New Brunswick. The city of Moncton describes it as a natural gravity hill illusion, where vehicles placed in neutral appear to roll uphill. For anyone sitting inside the car, the experience is genuinely confusing. The road seems to rise ahead, trees and surrounding slopes appear to confirm it. Then the car starts moving, but there is no magnetic force pulling it forward. The trick is hidden in the landscape. What your eyes interpret as an uphill slope is actually a slight downhill gradient. The surrounding terrain is tilted in a way that changes your sense of what level should look like. Your brain normally uses the horizon, nearby hills, trees, and buildings to judge slopes. At a gravity hill, those visual clues are misleading, so your eyes say we're going uphill. Gravity says no, you're not, and gravity wins. The car is simply rolling downhill even though the landscape makes it look completely opposite. That is why the name Magnetic Hill is so misleading. There are no giant magnets buried beneath the road. The effect comes from the unusual arrangement of the surrounding terrain. The city itself identifies the phenomenon as an illusion rather than actual magnetism. And this isn't unique to Canada. Similar gravity hills have been reported in different parts of the world, all producing the same unsettling effect. You can know exactly what is happening. You can understand science. Yet when you watch a car roll toward what appears to be higher ground without an engine, your eyes still insist that gravity has somehow stopped working. Number 12. Kawah Ijen. When darkness falls over an Indonesian volcano, something extraordinary begins to appear. Brilliant blue flames start flickering across the mountainside. They look almost like streams of blue lava flowing through the darkness, but there is no blue lava here. The phenomenon happens at Kawah Ijen on the Indonesian island of Java. Deep inside the volcano, sulfur-rich gases escape through cracks in the rock. When these extremely hot gases come into contact with oxygen, they ignite. The result is a vivid blue flame. Some flames can rise several meters into the air, while molten sulfur flows down the slopes beneath them. From a distance, it can look like a glowing blue river running through the volcano. But the flames are only part of what makes this place so unusual. At the heart of the crater lies a vast turquoise lake. Its water is among the most acidic found in any natural lake on Earth, created by volcanic gases dissolving into the water. And despite these extreme conditions, people work here. Sulfur miners descend into the crater, often surrounded by thick volcanic fumes. They break solid sulfur from the deposits and carry heavy loads back up the steep mountain paths. A single load can weigh well over 100 pounds. The work is physically exhausting, and the gases can be dangerous to breathe. Yet miners continue making these difficult journeys because the sulfur provides an important source of income. Then night returns. The darkness hides the volcano's ordinary appearance, while the sulfur flames begin glowing again. Blue fire burns beside a turquoise acid lake. People walk through the fumes carrying enormous loads of sulfur, and the entire scene looks less like Earth and more like a landscape from another planet. But there is no special effect behind it. Just heat, gas, sulfur, and chemistry combining in one of the strangest volcanic environments on Earth. Number 11. The Eternal Flame Falls. Water crashes down a rocky cliff in western New York. But hidden behind the waterfall, something completely unexpected is burning a small flame that refuses to disappear for long. This is Eternal Flame Falls, located inside Chestnut Ridge Park near Buffalo. Behind the falling water is a small grotto. From cracks in the rock, natural gas continuously escapes into the cave. When that gas meets a flame, it burns directly behind the waterfall, creating one of the strangest scenes in nature. Water on one side, fire on the other, and somehow they exist only a few feet apart. The secret lies beneath the ground. Scientists discovered that the gas rises through fractures in shale deep below the surface. The gas is mostly methane, but its chemical makeup is unusual. It contains significant amounts of ethane and propane together, making up more than 35% of the gas measured at the site. That discovery made the location even more interesting, because the flame isn't actually eternal. Heavy rain can increase the waterfall's flow and put it out. But the gas keeps escaping through the rocks, allowing the flame to be lit again. Researchers have even extinguished and reignited it while studying the gas. The seep itself may have existed for hundreds or possibly thousands of years, but no one knows exactly when people first discovered the flame or when it was originally lit. And that's what makes this place so fascinating. There is no trick, no hidden machine, just a natural gas seep feeding a small fire behind a waterfall. Water keeps falling, gas keeps rising, and between them a tiny flame continues to burn, turning an ordinary waterfall into a scene that seems to contradict everything we expect from nature. Number 10. Crooked Forest. In northern Poland, there is a forest where the trees seem to break every rule of normal growth. The place is known as the Crooked Forest near the town of Gryfino. Around 400 pine trees grow here, but none of them have the shape you would expect. Their trunks rise normally from the ground, then suddenly bend sideways near the base. After curving for several feet, they turn upward again and continue growing toward the sky. What makes the sight even stranger is the consistency. Many of the trees bend at almost the same height and in nearly the same direction. It is difficult to look at them without wondering whether something or someone caused it. The trees were planted around the 1930s, but their exact history remains uncertain. Records that might have explained their unusual shape were lost during the events surrounding World War II. One of the strongest theories points toward human intervention. Young pine trees can be shaped while their trunks are still flexible. At the time, curved timber was useful for making furniture, boats, and other wooden structures. Local foresters may have deliberately trained these trees into unusual shapes, intending to harvest the wood when the trees matured. But that plan apparently never happened. The trees were left behind, and instead of becoming useful timber, they became a mystery. Today, the crooked forest still stands almost like a frozen moment from the past. Hundreds of trees share the same strange curve, yet there is no definite answer about who shaped them, how they were shaped, or why the work was abandoned. And that is what makes this forest so unsettling. The trees are real, the pattern is real, but the story behind them is still missing. Number 9. Lake Natron. A lake in Tanzania can look beautiful from a distance, but get too close and the scene changes completely. Its waters can become deep red and orange, its shores can be covered with strange white deposits, and the bodies of animals that die there can remain preserved for remarkably long periods. The water can reach temperatures of around 60 degrees Celsius, while its alkalinity can rise to a pH of about 10.5. That combination makes the environment extremely hostile to most animals. The strange preservation has a simple explanation. As water evaporates, it leaves behind concentrated salts and minerals, including sodium carbonate. When animals die and their remains are exposed to these conditions, the minerals can build up around the bodies and preserve them in remarkably lifelike positions. But then comes the part that seems completely backwards. In this harsh environment, thousands of flamingos gather to breed. The same conditions that keep many predators away from their nests help protect the birds and their young. The lake and surrounding wetlands are considered one of the most important breeding areas for lesser flamingos in East Africa. Even the water has an unusual transformation. During dry periods, salt-loving microorganisms can tint the lake brilliant shades of red, pink, and orange. When rainfall changes the water conditions, those colors can shift again. So this place creates an extraordinary contradiction. For most animals, the water is dangerously harsh. For dead creatures, it can become a natural preservation chamber. Yet for flamingos, the same hostile landscape becomes a protected nursery. It is a place where death leaves behind eerie statues, while life gathers in enormous numbers just a short distance away. Number 8. Muvil Cave. Beneath the ground in Romania, there is a cave where sunlight has been absent for millions of years. In 1986, workers near the Black Sea accidentally discovered an entrance to this sealed underground world. What they found inside was unlike almost any ecosystem on the surface. The cave had been isolated for roughly 5.5 million years. There are no plants growing here, no sunlight reaches the water or walls, and the air is dangerously different from what humans normally breathe, with extremely low oxygen and high levels of gases such as hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide. Yet life is everywhere. Spiders move through the darkness. Scorpions, centipedes, water bugs, and other creatures have adapted to conditions that would be deadly for most animals. Many are pale and have reduced or completely lost their eyesight. But if there is no sunlight, where does their food come from? The answer is one of the strangest parts of Muvil Cave. Instead of relying on plants, the ecosystem begins with bacteria. These microbes use chemicals in the cave air and water as an energy source. Their activity creates organic material that becomes food for tiny animals. Those animals then support larger predators. It is an entire food chain running without sunlight. Scientists have identified dozens of species in the cave that are found nowhere else on Earth. Isolation for millions of years allowed these animals to evolve in ways rarely seen elsewhere. Muvil Cave is more than a dark underground chamber. It is a completely separate biological world hidden beneath ordinary Romanian soil. The most unsettling part is that nothing here needs the sun to keep going. Life has found another way. And deep below the surface, in air, humans can barely tolerate an ecosystem that has been quietly surviving for millions of years. Number 7. Salar de Uyuni. For most of the year, Salar de Uyuni looks like an endless white desert. There are no trees, almost no landmarks, just salt stretching toward the horizon. But then the rain arrives. A thin layer of water spreads across the surface, and the entire landscape changes. The ground begins reflecting the sky. Clouds appear beneath your feet. Mountains seem to float in the distance, and suddenly the horizon almost disappears. This is Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, the largest salt flat on Earth. It covers more than 10,000 square kilometers, making it larger than some countries. Its surface is remarkably flat, so flat in fact that scientists have used it to calibrate satellite instruments. But this strange landscape has a much older story. Millions of years ago, ancient lakes covered this region. Over time, those lakes dried up. What they left behind was a massive layer of salt and minerals. Today, another valuable resource lies beneath the surface: lithium-rich brine. Lithium is essential for many rechargeable batteries, so this seemingly empty desert has become economically important. But after rainfall, the salt flat reveals its strangest side. The water is usually only a few centimeters deep, yet that is enough. Because the surface is so smooth, the water behaves like a giant mirror. The sky seems to continue beneath you. The ground seems to disappear, and a person standing there can look as if they are suspended between two worlds. Then the water dries, the mirror vanishes, and Salar de Uyuni becomes a white desert once again. Nothing supernatural happened, just salt water and an almost perfectly flat surface. But for a brief moment it becomes one of the few places on Earth where the sky seems to have fallen to the ground. Number 6. Hoover Dam. There is a place in the American Southwest where water can appear to fall upward. No, this isn't a camera trick. Stand at the edge of Hoover Dam, release a little water, and watch closely. Instead of dropping toward the canyon, tiny droplets can rise back into the air. For a moment it looks as if gravity has completely lost control. So what is happening here? The answer begins with the enormous structure beneath your feet. Hoover Dam stands inside Black Canyon between Nevada and Arizona, holding back the massive waters of Lake Mead. Its curved concrete wall was designed to withstand the tremendous pressure of all that water pressing against it. But that same canyon creates something unexpected. Strong winds can race through the narrow gorge and sweep upward along the face of the dam. Now add water to the equation. When the water breaks into tiny droplets, the rising air can catch them and carry them upward. From the right angle, the effect is astonishing. Water appears to climb instead of fall. And the strange part is that you can understand the science and still find it difficult to believe what your eyes are showing you. The dam itself isn't defying gravity. The water isn't actually flowing uphill. The wind is simply strong enough to push those tiny droplets upward before gravity can pull them down. But that's exactly what makes Hoover Dam so perfect for this list. A structure built to control an enormous body of water can create a scene where that same water appears to escape gravity itself. There is no magic, no hidden technology, just concrete, water, wind, and the unusual shape of a canyon. Yet standing there and watching water rise toward the sky, you'd be forgiven for wondering whether the laws of physics had briefly been rewritten. Number 5. Underwater waterfall. From above, the ocean looks completely normal. Then you look down near the coast of Mauritius, and suddenly it appears as though the entire ocean is falling into a giant hole. A massive underwater waterfall seems to plunge toward the deep sea. It looks impossible, because how can water fall when it is already underwater? The strange sight is found off the southwestern coast of Mauritius near the Le Morne Peninsula. But there is no gravitational hole beneath the ocean. The secret is hidden on the seafloor. Mauritius sits on the Mascarene Plateau, a huge underwater shelf surrounding the islands. Near its edge, the seafloor drops dramatically toward the deep Indian Ocean, and this is where the illusion begins. Sand and sediment carried by ocean currents move across the shallow plateau. When they reach the edge, they slide down the underwater slope toward deeper water. From above, the moving sediment creates dark patterns that look remarkably like water pouring over a gigantic cliff. The result is one of the strangest sights in the ocean. It looks like the sea itself is disappearing, but the water isn't falling into an abyss. The seafloor is simply dropping away beneath it. And the darker color you see isn't a giant hole. It is largely sediment moving down the underwater slope. From sea level, almost none of this is visible. The full effect becomes clear from above, where the changing colors reveal the shape of the submerged landscape. That is what makes this place so deceptive. There is no impossible waterfall, no bottomless hole, no broken law of physics. Just an enormous underwater plateau, moving sediment, and a dramatic drop into the deep ocean. Yet from the sky, it looks as if someone pulled the plug on the ocean, and the sea is pouring straight into the earth. Number 4. Mount Roraima. Mount Roraima looks less like a mountain and more like a giant stone island rising above the rainforest. It stands where Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil meet, with enormous cliffs surrounding a remarkably flat summit. The rocks forming this ancient plateau are estimated to be around 2 billion years old, making the mountain one of the oldest geological formations on Earth. But its age is only part of the story. Roraima is a tepui, a tabletop mountain shaped by millions of years of erosion. While the softer rock around it gradually disappeared, the harder sandstone remained, leaving behind a massive plateau that towers above the surrounding forest. At the summit, the landscape becomes even more unusual. Rainwater collects in natural pools, streams cut through strange rock formations, and waterfalls plunge from the edges into the rainforest far below. Because the summit has remained isolated for such a long time, many plants and animals have evolved in this unique environment. Some species are found nowhere else, including carnivorous plants that survive by trapping insects in the nutrient-poor soil. The mountain's strange appearance has also inspired stories and films, most famously Arthur Conan Doyle's 1912 novel, The Lost World. Standing above the clouds, surrounded by ancient rocks, mist, waterfalls, and unusual life, it is easy to understand why. Mount Roraima is not a lost world from a Hollywood movie. It is a real place, shaped by geological forces over billions of years. Yet its flat summit, towering cliffs, isolated ecosystem, and otherworldly landscape make it feel as though a completely different world was placed on top of the rainforest. Number 3. The floating islands of Loktak Lake. What if the ground beneath you wasn't actually ground? In northeastern India, entire pieces of land float on a lake. This is Loktak Lake in Manipur. Across its surface are strange floating formations called fungus. At first they look like ordinary islands covered in grass, but they aren't solid islands. They are thick mats of vegetation, roots, soil, and decaying plant material, woven together over many years, and most of each island is hidden underwater. Only the upper layer remains above the surface. Then the water level changes. The roots can reach down to the lake bed and absorb nutrients. When the water rises again, the fungus can lift away and float freely. So these islands aren't fixed in one place. They can move, they can change shape, and they can rise and fall with the lake. But this gets even more remarkable. Some fungus are large enough to support trees, wildlife, and human activity. One of the largest forms the unusual landscape of Kebul Lamjau National Park. It is the world's only floating national park. And this isn't just a strange natural formation. The floating landscape is home to the endangered Songhai deer, which has adapted to living on these unstable islands. The lake also supports thousands of people who depend on it for fishing and other livelihoods. So for the people living around Loktak, these floating islands aren't a curiosity. They are part of everyday life. Yet stand on one, and the experience must feel extraordinary. The grass beneath you looks solid, the trees appear firmly rooted, but underneath your feet is water. There is no ordinary piece of land holding everything in place, just a massive tangled structure of roots, soil, and vegetation, a living island that floats on a lake. And perhaps the strangest part is this: the island isn't simply sitting on the water, it is part of the water. Number 2. The ships that appear to float. A boat is sailing across the ocean, but it doesn't seem to be touching the water. It appears to hover above the sea, almost like someone removed gravity from the scene. These strange images have sparked stories of ghost ships, flying vessels, and even mysterious objects from another world. But the real explanation is far more fascinating. The boat is real, and the ocean is exactly where it should be. The illusion begins when the sea and sky become almost identical in color. Cloud shadows can make the water closer to the viewer appear darker, creating what looks like a false horizon. The distant water then blends into the sky, making the boat appear completely detached from the surface. In some cases, atmospheric conditions can create an even stranger effect called a fata morgana. When layers of air have different temperatures, light bends as it travels through them. This can distort distant objects, making ships appear higher, stretched, duplicated, or strangely suspended above the sea. But many floating boat images don't require a powerful mirage at all. Sometimes the horizon simply becomes so difficult to see that your brain places the boat in the wrong position. The result is an ordinary ship that looks completely impossible. For sailors centuries ago, such a sight would have been terrifying. With no cameras, weather instruments, or knowledge of atmospheric optics, a ship appearing to float above the ocean could easily become a story about a vessel from another world. Perhaps some legendary ghost ships were born from moments just like this. Not because the ship was supernatural, but because the ocean briefly made something perfectly real look impossible. Number 1. The Boiling River. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon, hidden inside dense rainforest, there is a river that actually boils. Local legends had spoken of it for generations, but scientists largely dismissed it as folklore, until geologist Andres Russo tracked it down and confirmed it was real. The river is called Shanai Timpishka, meaning boiled with the heat of the sun. Its waters can reach temperatures of nearly 100 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cook small animals that fall in. Steam rises continuously off its surface, and the heat is intense enough to be dangerous to anyone who gets too close. Normally, water this hot only exists near active volcanoes where magma sits close to the surface, but the nearest volcano is hundreds of kilometers away. So what's heating the river? The answer lies deep underground. Geothermally heated water warmed by the Earth's natural heat flow along a fault system rises through cracks in the rock and feeds directly into the river. No magma chamber, no eruption, just a rare geological fault line acting like a natural furnace beneath the jungle floor. For the indigenous Ashaninka people, the river has long been considered sacred, believed to be protected by a spirit connected to the boiling waters. Today, scientists still study the site to understand exactly how it stays this hot without volcanic activity nearby. There is no crater, no lava, no obvious source of heat anywhere in sight, just a river deep in the Amazon quietly boiling in the middle of the rainforest as if the jungle itself decided the normal rules of nature didn't apply here.